Hello and welcome to another new episode of Learning Simplified. And in this tutorial series, from now on, we will be practically dealing with some basic questions which has been several times asked before and which has been several times answered before. But right now, I think it is a better option to implement all those questions into a definite series of tutorials where we will be defining all those questions and we will be trying to answering them throughout this series. And that is why this tutorial series is built upon building up a web page with pure HTML. That means there won't be any added styles using the basic CSS that we had been using previously. In the next case, we will be using an external CSS file along with the HTML page that we will be trying to build upon. Next comes the CSS Flexbox. We will be using this wonderful CSS framework with the HTML, and in the last case we will be using a responsive framework, something like Bootstrap, and we will be building up our template. So if we have a look into our template, we can see that this is the very template that we will be using in this purpose. And as we can see, it is a very basic one, very easy to understand and very easy to go with. So in this template, there are some distinctive features, like as we can see on the top of this template. This is not actually on the top, it is practically lying on the display banner section, overlaying the display banner section. And within this section, we can see that here comes a logo, then comes the menu bar, next comes the display itself, which is practically occupying the 90% of the total viewport height. And next comes another display section where we can see that there is an image and along with some text format into it. Next comes our services, which holds some icon, some subheading and some text formats into it. And in the last case, we can see that there goes a footer section where we will be practically centering all of the text headers into the exact middle of this section, and we'll be using a button in this particular case. So the key features of this template is a header section along with an overlaying menu bar. Then comes the display section. Then comes the our services section, which holds some kind of grouped elements into it, within which we can see it is practically consisting of an icon part, a subheading part, and next comes the text formats into it. The purpose of this part is practically to display the equal height action wherever applicable. We will be using it. And in the last case, there is a footer section where we can see that all the elements, those are practically placed into the exact middle of this footer element. So here are some basic template design. This is practically a very basic template design. It is not a very complicated one. This will be the first case where this is the Bootstrap responsive, where we can see that here goes the icon part and here comes the menu part, and together all of them, those are practically overlaying upon the header display part. So this is practically an overlaying menu bar right on the top of this display header page. Next comes the display section over here. We can see that this is the responsive web layout text format, which is centrally lying, which is centrally aligned, and in the extreme right position, we can see that here goes another image as been mentioned in the template. So it is practically lying into the right position. And next comes all those grouped elements, those we had told you earlier. So icon, subheading 1 and the text format, and we can see that the exact same implementation comes here. We have practically made usage of this icon part, next comes this subheading part, and then next comes some text format along with it. And the purpose of all of these things are practically to display the equal height action into our web page. Here it goes. And in the last case, we can see that this is the footer section where we have practically implemented each and everything is now placed in the exact middle of the footer section. Now, if we have a closer look into the mobile responsive view of this Bootstrap responsive structure, and now we can see that this is, here goes the mobile responsive view. So everything is right now into action. Practically, I haven't spent a lot of time in practically to make them very much mobile responsive. So I haven't defined what will be the condition for each and every mobile display device with. So this is practically a very general one. So this is what is it in the first case. As we can see that this is the web page which is being created along with the Bootstrap responsiveness. Next comes the CSS Flexbox. Now here comes the difference, as we have seen that in this particular case, while we had made usage of Bootstrap responsive, everything seems to be fine, but the icon part, it is practically aligned itself into the extreme left of the web page of the browser. But in this particular case, we are practically successfully able to place the menu bar and the icon in the exact same location where it should have been. So this is practically the difference of approach, and we can see that this is the responsive web layout, and we can see that the image part, it is lying in the exact right position, the equal height action into the services section and the footer section as been told earlier. So everything is in its position and everything is in a proper view as we have seen right over here. So now if we press this Ctrl Shift M, we can see that here goes the result as we are now able to view right over here. So this is the CSS Flexbox. We have practically built our web page using the language CSS Flexbox. Next comes this HTML with CSS. Everything goes fine, and the overlaying property of this menu bar is practically being displayed well into this particular view. There's practically no Flexbox, there's practically no Bootstrap, only pure HTML along with some pure CSS. So everything just looks fine. We have placed all of them together. We have assembled them into a single place, but as we can see that displaying the equal height action is quite impossible in this particular case. As the text grows further, the box grows further. So this is how we practically are not able to make any equal height action using the CSS only. And this is the footer section where we can see everything goes into its proper place. So the rest of the things are quite well and everything seems to be in position. But now if we press Ctrl Shift M, we can see that here goes the problem. Using this individual HTML with CSS part, building up this web page along with the CSS only cannot give you the proper responsive preview. Whatever you use, you may use 100% container regarding this respect, but this is practically impossible. And if we try to build up the web page along with pure HTML, we need to remember that we are practically making usage of none. No CSS, no Bootstrap, no Flexbox, nothing. No CSS properties are practically being used along with. We have just used pure HTML. We have used just some HTML properties to place them all together, to place them together into a single place. But as we can see that it is practically getting impossible to build it up along with the aid of pure HTML. This was the question that been asked to me several times. Is it possible to build up a web page using the pure HTML only? So this should be the answer. This should be one which is defining them all. It is practically impossible to build up anything using the pure HTML property only. So here it goes. We will be now seeing them live into action. Simple and easy to understand template for the beginners. Next comes a display banner with overlaying menu bar into the header section as been defined into the previous case. Next comes the centered text within a div element. So if we have a look into our template, we can see that this is practically the centered text property which has been discussed right over here, how to center our text elements into a definite div or block element. Next comes the background blend mode. We will be discussing on the background blend mode. We will be seeing live into action how to blend some images and some colors along with it. And we will be trying to build up the equal height action. And additionally, we will be using some external resources implemented into our page. Like we will be using some font or some icons into our page, and we will see how to use Google Fonts and implement them right into the project that we are currently building up. So each and everything will be built up very distinctively into our tutorial. Stay tuned and do not forget to definitely subscribe us for more of this kind of videos. Stay tuned.